English translation. 178th contact. Monday, 4th October 1982, 20 hours.
Today is now the day of the decision, and I feel like I am sitting on millions of needles, or that I am being led to the slaughter.
In addition, I can tell you that you need not excite yourself because the decision is positive.
Ah, that is good.
In the last few months, things have turned very much to your favor, even though this has happened through measures that are very unfortunate. But as a result of this, it has arisen that a continuance seems to be worthwhile, even though we had to determine that some of the group members are of the mistaken view that they have now survived everything and will no longer have to strive further in the future. In this, however, they have fallen into a very bad error, for if we should find out that in regards to the performances and efforts, and the observances of the rules and order, as well as the recognition and devotion to duty, etc., these are again diminished, then we would have to take harsh measures again, or even adjust our whole work with you. And here again, we must insist on a collective application, even if this still is not understandable to all of the group members because they still cannot grasp the depth of the truth, for their thinking is slow and unsatisfactory. They still have not understood that they are entirely and collectively responsible for everything because, on the one hand, they themselves are the ones who have determined as to who was included in the core group and who was not, and, on the other hand, because they are thus responsible for the actions of the same. Therefore, even if only one core group member neglects his or her duty, then they can only do so because they were received into the association by a decision of the other group members, and through this, can cause harm in the group. If no reception had taken place, then this factor would be eliminated, whereby no collective liability could emerge. In other words, this also means that in the future, it must be respected more that no additional core group members are received who are not intended for this task or who are not qualified. Therefore, in the future, more attentiveness is required so that a joint liability does not appear, but rather that in each case, only one errant group member at a time should be held accountable. And just with today's decision, it will again be such that the whole responsibility, in all relationships, again lies with the entire group, and thus with every single group member. From our side, we now no longer insist that, always and in every case, the ordinal rules, statutes, the House rules, and other regulations must be consulted, but rather that every single group member recognizes and fulfills his or her duty in the future without any regulations needing to be pounded in. In future time, all provisions should only exist as general guidelines, without the need for them to be consulted and to be mentioned by name, whereby that condition should once again prevail, as it prevailed at the beginning when you obtained the center. We want it to be so because it is necessary that each person thinks for himself or herself, that he or she recognizes and fulfills their duty themselves, without having to be encouraged to do so or it needing to be pointed out to them. Thinking, recognizing one's duty, fulfilling one's duty, and so on should happen as a free consequence, with the knowledge that only a free decision guarantees a compliance with and the utilizing of necessary order. For this reason, we must demand that again, you immediately nullify all sanctions and calls to account for fallibility in every sense, and that the rules and statutes, etc., are only regarded as being given on paper without them having to find strict and considerable use again. Again, the full responsibility must be borne voluntarily and by every single individual, which also has to result, however, in a collective form.
Man, those are many and nice words, but I do not see that this will work. There are some who still do not understand what real freedom is, so they still have not grasped the sense of the mission.
Nevertheless, it should be so, as I have explained to you. We must even demand this because freedom in these matters is necessary, and it also should have been recognized in its entirety by every single group member.
There. Unfortunately, I am not hopeful because as I see things, the good result in recent months has only arisen because harsh coercive measures have been enforced, for whose observance I once again had to rant and rave.
You think that everything has developed in such a manner only because harsh measures were taken?
But certainly my son, and I am convinced that already today the idea is being flirted with, to shut down immediately and to ignore every order.
With some, that is the case. This I told you before. But if this should actually happen, then we have already made the decision that we will finally distance ourselves from it all, with maybe one more short-term opportunity that we still want to provide. In particular, the next and first 3 days will prove to us whether everything is being taken seriously or not, and whether our renewed confidence is justified. During this time, we will closely monitor everything in a specially rigorous manner, and, if necessary, make a different and final decision if it should be necessary.
And how would this decision look then?
A final discontinuation of all relations, and we would also have to demand then that the free community of interests would be dissolved as such.
And I count on exactly that, because I just see things a bit differently than you do. As trusting as you are, I cannot be, and I also will not be fooled by the small success that has come about through the coercive measures.
You see things too pessimistically, my friend, even if some of the group members have also done wrong during the last time, such as Lewis, who acted as a shirker.
How so?
Already for several weeks he has been subject to unemployment, and he did not think it was necessary during this time to be active towards the mission in the center. Most of his time as an unemployed person, he has pointlessly wasted, having made a cozy and lazy life for himself, and having waited for roasted pigeons to fly in his mouth, without even giving a single thought to the fact that he could have used the time that was senselessly and pointlessly wasted toward an appropriate and useful work in the center.
You already speak very nicely and quickly in our terminology, because of the roasted pigeons, I mean.
One gets accustomed to such expressions, especially if one overhears your conversations.
That is finely expressed. From my side, I call that spying, my son.
Even if you call it such, it is still necessary for us because, as we assessed years ago, the Earth person can say incomprehensible things, which he or she truly does not mean at all, so eavesdropping helps us very much.
Good, good. But just now, you mentioned Lewis who has done wrong, but how does it stand with the other fallible ones? Would it not be right if you would once mention everyone by name and point out their fallibility?
I have, and also Ptah and Simyase have often done so, and after all the ex-members and changes, it should not be necessary anymore. I only named Louis because during the 6-month term, he behaved in said form incorrectly and in a work-shy manner. Thus, we should leave it at that, even if one and other various changes are still necessary. If now efforts and improvements have actually come into being, even if this occurred through harsh measures, it is more reasonable and logical to suppose that this will also happen in the future. For this reason, it would be totally inappropriate to issue new objections. The past should now finally be past, so we no longer want to talk about it.
You have hopes, which I unfortunately cannot share.
These are not hopes, but facts. On the other hand, even a more or less reasonable person could not act so illogically that he or she again destroys what's been achieved, and especially not in your case.
I can only say again, I might have had your hopes.
Such pessimism in you is strange to me, my friend. But now, in any case, it is such that the full responsibility and determination once again lie with the entire group and with the individual group members. Also, the board of directors and you are fully able to make decisions again. However, the following is to be strictly observed by you. 1. Our positive decision that we would continue our relationship in no way means that we would allow renewed violations, etc. So we will also maintain a 2-year preservation time, according to which we can resign from our current decision at any time, which can break off the contacts and which can dissolve Phi Gu. 2. We expect a full commitment in every respect and no reductions in and on all areas. 3. We expect an absolutely correct performance of duty from every single group member. Shrao, what is expected by us? Finally, is the complete change of all fallible ones, as well as the interests of a cultivated language, dismantling prejudice, neutrality, equal rights, coexistence, and equality among all. It is expected that in every respect, the commitment so takes place in the center and in relation to the fulfillment of the mission, etc., as the strengths and capabilities of each core group member allow it, and this is truly very, very much more than what was previously the case. The last 6 months, and especially the last 3 months, have proven that a regular and relevant commitment, full of achievement, is possible, even though a truly full commitment and consequent performance haven't been achieved so far. Furthermore, I still have to point out that the cleaning of the Sohar Center must take place immediately and still this week, and we must insist, however, that in the future, the Sohar Center may only be accessed and be used in a physically and mentally perfect condition. For this, we will work out some guidelines and will have to inform you.
But we already have such rules, and they are well known to all.
That is of correctness, but some additional points should be mentioned which, on the one hand, relate to the cleanliness of the psyche and, on the other hand, to the cleanliness of the body, and in particular, that circumstance must be taken into account, which you have already treated in detail some time ago.
You probably refer to the Harry situation?
That is of correctness, such is my speech. But together with this, there are still other various points to be mentioned, which should be noted in the future, for especially the Sohar Center should not still have to be cleaned yearly by us. This place should truly be kept so pure that a cleaning by us will never be necessary.
This will probably let itself be made well.
That is of correctness. Furthermore, I still have to say that the learning activity of every single group member must be intensified in the future. Also in relation to the spiritual teaching, now called creation energy teaching, I must say the same thing, for in virtually all cases, this is extremely neglected or no longer pursued. Also in reference to the night watch, objections are still to be made because various group members do not pursue this responsibly enough, are too lax in this, and are extremely careless, and they think that this is more for fun and trickery than just for security. A very quick improvement is very urgent in this respect. Furthermore, I must yet another time propose that the night watch should be pursued in twos, which naturally means that each group member will be increasingly used. The security urgently requires it, for otherwise, you must soon expect your first injury, which will be given to you by evil-minded ones.
We just have too few people.
You have the choice. Either you shorten the cycle of the days of operation of each individual group and carry out the night watch with 2 persons apiece, or you will, already within a short time, have to receive the first harms, which will be inflicted upon you by malevolent ones, and so on. And with that, my friend, I explained everything that there was to explain for today. Goodbye.
Take care.